Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to the spring conference. I have several announcements up here, so you guys bear with me. So over the next couple of days, we want to share with you guys, share some updates, give some information to you that you need. In addition to information sharing, we want this to be collaboration. We want you all to share ideas. If anything you're struggling with, you have an opportunity to work with other LEAs, work with State Department staff, so we can hopefully help, while you're here, address any of the challenges, any of the questions that you're having. Before we get started, I have several announcements. If your LEA does not receive Title I Part C funds, but you have migrant kids in your LEA, please see Sally before you leave. She has something for you. Sally, raise your hand. That's Sally over there in the green. And let me spend a few minutes talking about the schedule. If you'll look in your program, today we have several speakers that I'll get to in a few minutes, but I want you to turn a couple pages and look at tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to start out with Title IV. Chandlin Elliott will be here. And then we'll have a number of breakout sessions. So before we get started tomorrow, we want you guys to look over all the breakout sessions. You will have the opportunity to attend 6 out of the 9 sessions. You can attend 6 sessions. So go ahead and mark which six sessions you will attend before tomorrow comes. And when you turn the page, there's actually a note-taking tool, so you can go ahead and outline which sessions you're going to attend. For those of you who have several people from the same district, divide and conquer. That's a great way to do that. And then for the charter schools, where are the charter schools? Raise your hand. Okay, so for all of you guys, your first session has to be the charter school session. Where you see that very first session, it would only be offered session 1. That's because Yolanda is doing that one as well as equitable services. So all the charter schools, your first session tomorrow will be the charter school session. And then we have several other presentations, and then as you scroll through, make sure you notice the vendors. The vendors have done an awesome job this year helping us out. When you look at Thursday we have several sessions as well, and we're going to end with the regional meetings just like we normally do. A few other announcements for anyone that's new. Restrooms are straight out the door to the left, straight out, turn left, and they're on the right. One of the things you guys asked for at our last conference, you asked for outlets at each of the tables, and we wanted to accommodate you, so we did that. However, the rug is a little bumpy. Please be careful as you're walking around. We don't want anyone to trip and fall, because the minute that happens, we will no longer have outlets at each of the tables. But we want to try it. Just be careful. Make sure you don't trip and fall. The Wi-Fi password is in the program if you need it. It should be on the second page of the program. We have parking lots set up in 2 areas over here. As we're going through any questions that you have, any burning questions, ideas, things you want to share, feel free to just jot them down. We'll address parking lot questions at the end of the day, and then tomorrow morning, the end of the day tomorrow, and then Thursday morning, just like we typically do in our conferences. And, okay, so distinguished schools. We have 2 distinguished schools that we are going to recognize today, and we have a video. First, we're going to show the video, and then I'll introduce the individuals from the distinguished schools and ask them to come up to receive a plaque. And I believe first is Brookwood Elementary, Enterprise City Schools.
Welcome to Brookwood Elementary School. Thank you for choosing us as a National Title I School of Distinction. We have 633 students and 77 staff members. We are located in Enterprise, Alabama, near the Gulf Coast.
Our school was established in 2009 under the name Enterprise Early Education Center. serving students from pre-K through kindergarten. And in 2021, we held a formal ceremony to announce our transition to a pre-kindergarten through 6th grade school. A vote among students and staff members led to the selection of our new name, resulting in our rebranding as Brookwood Elementary.
Our school is a hub of dynamic activities showcasing the talents and dedication of our students. From our robotics club, which competes at city and state levels, to our choir performing in Georgia, our running club has achieved remarkable milestones, completing over 100 miles, while our beta club has completed and advanced to both state and national levels. Our Peer Helpers Club further exemplifies our commitment to peer support and collaboration.
We provide extra enrichment along with summer after-school activities with literacy and math summer camps. We enjoy helping all learners no matter the needs. Here at Brookwood, we don't allow average to be the standard.
We're extremely humbled and honored to be named as a National Title I School of Distinction. First and foremost, the credit goes to our students. They've worked extremely hard and invested in our program. Extremely proud of our staff and how hard they've worked, and so thankful to our parents who are very supportive but not demanding. This is a great honor for our school.
Thanks again, and go Bears!
Here representing Brookwood Elementary, Dr. Waller Martin, Principal at Brookwood Elementary, Catalina Schaffner, ESL Parapro, and Markel Straughter, District ESL Specialist. Our second distinguished school is Hamilton Elementary School, Marion County.
Alabama. It's a great privilege to be able to serve in this position.
Our academic proficiency and growth over a 3-year period at Hamilton Elementary School has been outstanding, and it's a tribute to the hard work and perseverance of our staff, students, and parents, as well as our structured scheduling and our tiered instruction. Using 2020-2021 as the base year, we have gone from overall proficiency in ELA from 50% to 80%, in math from 25% to 63%, and in science from 36% to 67%. Although we have made tremendous strides in our academic achievement, we are not satisfied, and we continue to strive to be one of the elite schools in the state of Alabama. At Hamilton Elementary School, every student matters, regardless of their background, and we strive to include all students in our academic and social programs. I also believe that our robust arts program has made a difference in our academic gains at our school. We offer our students music and art. Our students have taken numerous in-state and out-of-state field trips in the last 3 years. What I feel makes our school as great as it is are our outstanding faculty, our terrific students, and our supportive community.
Representing Hamilton Elementary are Principal Gary McCarley, School Counselor Erica Salter, and Anna Colburn, ESL Specialist Teacher. You all, both of our distinguished schools will be presenting at Mega Conference, so please look for the sessions. And so now I have the honor of introducing our speakers. Mr. Arthur Watts currently serves as the Deputy State Superintendent of Education for Administration and Finance in Alabama at the State Department of Education. In this role, he provides strategic leadership and oversight of financial operations, ensuring the responsible management of state and federal education funds to support Alabama schools and students. Mr. Watts brings a wealth of experience to ALSDE, having served as Chief School Financial Officer for over 2 decades in various Alabama school systems. Most recently, he spent 6 years as the CSFO for Montgomery Public Schools, where he played a critical role in restoring fiscal stability and implementing efficient financial practices. Prior to his tenure in Montgomery, he held CSFO positions in Talladega City Schools, Birmingham City Schools, and Wilcox County Schools, consistently demonstrating his expertise in school finance, budgeting, and operational improvement. Recognized for his integrity, dedication, and deep understanding of public school finance, Mr. Watts is committed to supporting educational excellence through sound financial stewardship. Joined today with Pamela Watkins, CSFO from Montgomery Public Schools, please join me in welcoming Mr. Arthur Watts.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. You know, when I was first asked to present today, one of my first questions was, what in the world am I going to talk about? And then it dawned on me, having served as CSFO for about 4 different districts, I thought the communication between the finance department and the federal programs department is absolutely essential for the operations of a school district. It is essential. And so I say, let's just talk about that then. Let's talk about the importance of collaborating with federal programs from a financial standpoint. Do we have any CFOs, CSFOs, or anyone from finance departments in this room? If we do, raise your hand, please. Great, awesome. Thank you so much. I think it's so important that you are here. And if there are federal program directors from other school districts, please encourage your CSFO or someone from the finance department to come next year. Because as I stated, I think it's essential that CSFOs, finance departments, and federal programs department work together, along with all of the other departments. I want to kind of talk about the budget process and what is a budget and the budgeting process with federal programs. And of course, I guess my first question is, why is communication important between finance and federal programs during the budgeting process? Well, one of the first things I think about is, are we duplicating services or programs that are paid from other funding sources? And I don't know about you all, but if you have a really, really good federal programs director, a good federal programs director would say, well, you know, federal programs are supplemental funds. Have y'all ever heard that before? And they are correct. Federal program dollars are indeed supplemental funds. And those dollars are there to assist us in establishing the various programs. Also, why is it so important to track spending? Are we really looking at our programs, evaluating our programs, or are we just spending funds, spending dollars? And I don't know whether you all have heard of this before. Have any of you all ever heard the word edit or corrective action program? Many times, much of those edits or many of those edits exist because of the lack of communication between federal programs and the finance department. And that's something that I've recognized throughout my career that it's a process. And that communication needs to be continuous. And I tell you, when I talk with LEA Accounting and talk with them about the financial statements that comes in and the budgets that come in, we can look at just a few of those edits and tell where the communication is taking place between finance and federal programs. And I'm sure that the programmatic of folk in federal programs during the evaluation and they write up their corrective action plan, I can assure you they could tell sometimes whether there's interaction between federal programs and the finance department. So that collaborative effort is extremely important as it relates to federal programs and finance. So what is a budget? Well, a budget is basically a spending plan that is based on prior year expenditures or prior year experiences and current and future year expectations. Let's think about that for a second. What is a budget? A budget is based on prior year experiences and current and future year expectation. So once we receive our allocation, well, one of the first things we're going to do, we're going to look back. How did we expend these funds last year? Was it effective? Is there something we need to do differently? Did we grow by the 5% that we anticipated? Or are we projecting to grow by another 5%? Or do we need to do something totally different? And so the budget assists us in considering those type things. Are we spending the majority of our funds on personnel? Do we need to expend the majority of our funds on personnel? What about PD? Should the funds be going towards professional development, material and supplies, contract services? And not only that, as we continue monitoring our budgets, is there a necessity for us to make some changes? Do we need to adjust some things? Because as we all know, a budget really should be a working document. And I would think that your ASIP plan would also be a working document. So there are times when various department heads, the federal programs director or a principal may come to us and say, you know, Mr. Watts, you know, we had $10,000 budgeted in material and supplies. But we've been doing this particular professional development, having someone coming in and providing these particular services, and it is really working. So we really need to adjust our budget to put $7,000 additionally into professional development. So we see that we can make those adjustments through a budget amendment, but all of that takes place through collaboration with the finance department. So why do we budget? We basically budget to set goals and to track progress based on the investment of resources. That is why we budget. We budget to identify our priorities and make informed decisions. And as I stated, the budget should be a living document. So those decisions can change based on our continuous evaluation of the program. But all of that should be communicated with the finance department so that the finance department would know that they would need to adjust line items in the amended budget. The budget process, it allows us to determine the amount of the revenue sources, and not just for federal programs, but for all funding sources. What are the various revenue sources that we have? Because when we're preparing a budget, or when a district is preparing a budget, it really should look at all of its sources. Then, based on the strategic plan, determine the needs of our students, and then we can plot the various type of needs or the various type of funds towards those particular expenditures to meet those particular needs. So we're really looking at all of the funds because we know our federal dollars are pretty much supplemental funds. And so we're utilizing our state dollars, our local dollars, and then we come in and provide the federal dollars to help supplement to meet those needs of our students. Many of you all, I'm sure, have some type of process as it relates to developing your budget. And I'm sure that there's some communication that is taking place as it relates to developing a budget. I'm gonna ask Ms. Watkins to come up and kind of talk about some of the tools that MPS uses, that Montgomery Public School uses, in communicating continuously throughout the year and developing its budget. And not only that, what does Montgomery Public School does when it gets ready to do an amended budget? But there is continuous communication throughout the year. In fact, even when I served as CSFO of Montgomery Public Schools, we ensured that all of the principals and all of the bookkeepers had access to their federal programs budget. And we provided a training every single year to ensure that they understood their budget, that they could pick up at any given time, anytime, determine what their balances are on any line item, determine whether they need to make any adjustments, and they could communicate those things to the finance department. And that's what I would challenge you all to do, to kind of work with chief financial officers, finance department, really work with your federal programs department and all of your departments to ensure that they are cognizant of the balances and the amounts of money that they have remaining to spend. And a lot of times, like I said, it's not just based on federal dollars. You're looking at your entire budget. You're looking at all of your funds, knowing that those federal dollars are supplemental in nature and they are categorical in nature. And so with that being said, I'm going to ask Ms. Pamela Watkins. And let's give Ms. Watkins a hand. She was just appointed Chief Financial Officer of Montgomery Public Schools, so we're very proud of what she's accomplished there. Ms. Watkins.
Good afternoon. I'm going to talk just briefly about the process that we use with Montgomery Public Schools. As Mr. White stated, you may have your own processes that work for you. With Montgomery being as large as we are, we have to go through a process, and I do remember probably about 6 years ago when I first started working with Mr. Watts and helping with federal programs, one of the things that was probably one of my first tasks was to clear up the edits that came back from LEA accounting. And that particular year, we probably had over 20 edits, and the grand majority of them were related to federal programs, not in a bad way. But what that indicated to us was that there was no communication or collaboration taking place between federal programs and the finance department. We realized that as a federal programs director, unless you're in a small district where you're kind of having to do both, with federal programs, they fully understand the importance of the EGAP application, and all that's related into going into that. But for finance, for CSFOs, our full understanding and our process in our mind is working towards those financials or those budgets that have to go into NextGen and upload to the State Department. So for us, we want to make sure that that information is going in correctly, but at the same time, with all of the federal applications, we have to make sure that the information that's provided to you that's entered into EGAP lines up with the finances. Back then when we had all of those issues or those edits, they were related to the FTEs, didn't match what LEA was seeing. There were various errors on our set-aside page. None of those numbers matched. And our budget grid, one of the biggest things, did not match with the matrix from the finance department. And so we believe that collaboration, communication, and really first and foremost is establishing a relationship with those federal program directors. You establish the relationship with them, as well as your other department leaders, and then you can collaborate, you can work together, establishing relationships with our principals so that they're comfortable coming to us and communicating to us, with us. So one of the first things that we share when we're doing the training, the budget training, is this budget spreadsheet. Of course, by then, the principals probably have developed their ACIP plans, and so they kind of know where they are with that. And we have this budget spreadsheet here that I established a few years ago, because the first time that I entered a federal program's budget, now Montgomery's large and we have a lot of schools, and I had to key it, and that was no fun. So the spreadsheet actually allows us to take each school gets one of these, and we're actually just able to import this into NextGen. And so what this has on here, of course, the GL codes, which are important to finance. And for us in finance, on the finance side, I can look at the codes and tell you exactly what everything is just based on me kind of reading through part of the code. But principals or directors from other departments may not know what that is, and so we put a little thorough description than even what you may find in the NextGen software. So for example, the 018, I may look at 1100 018 and know that that's retired teachers, but anybody else looking at that may not know that. So in the description, we put that those are salaries. We also break it up by function, so we know that we're looking at instruction. We know that it's salaries and that they're retired teachers. So a principal or a bookkeeper that's assisting, or anybody that's assisting the principal with preparing their budget, will know that that's retired teachers. I may scan down a little bit further and see a 411. I know that those are instructional supplies because it's in the instruction function and the object's 411. But a principal or a bookkeeper or whoever's assisting with those budgets may not know that that's what that is. So we try to make sure that the description is descriptive enough so that we still have the codes there to upload, but the individuals that are preparing the budgets have the description there so that they can know how much they want to put in that area. This is a training that we actually start when we start preparing the budget for the next year. So they get this spreadsheet. I'll probably start this process next month. And I provide them the budget for the prior year. So the first column is the budget that they actually submitted to us for the prior year. And then we also provide them their year-to-date encumbrances or purchase orders and their actual expenditures. Those two numbers are combined, so that they can see how they actually spent those funds in the prior year. So if they budgeted on a line item that they really didn't spend to Fidelity, or they didn't spend at all, then they may want to budget that line item a little differently in the upcoming year. And they're able to go into this spreadsheet and they're able to put the budget numbers in based on their allocation. One thing that you can't see that they see is we give them the allocation, and if they don't budget the full amount, the amount that they have remaining appears in red at the top of the spreadsheet. And so once they've budgeted the entire amount, then that goes to zero and they know that they've budgeted everything. As it relates to personnel, there's a second tab in the spreadsheet that has where they can actually list the personnel that they already maybe have in federal programs or Title I, we'll say Title I, but the personnel that they already have there, or if they are anticipating a vacancy in that particular federal programs or their Title I allocation. And when they enter this, they can enter vacancy, they can enter the person's name, and they enter the FTE and the anticipated salary, and the benefits, all of those numbers calculate automatically. And when they calculate, they actually will come back and populate to this spreadsheet here. So they always have ongoing knowledge of how much they have remaining, how much the salaries and benefits are. They don't have to calculate anything because the spreadsheet is set up to automatically calculate everything for them. And so we've learned that that has proven to be pretty helpful for our schools and probably federal programs, hopefully to a degree. They still have to prepare the information that is required for federal programs, but this helps us in finance so that we're not keying the information. We understand that they've actually budgeted everything that they were allocated for or allocated with for that year. So when I get the 40-something schools that we have that are Title I schools and upload this, the total should match exactly what I know the school allocations to be. And usually that's exactly what happens because they've budgeted their full amount of their allocation. Once they do that, they've done their spreadsheet, the information's populated over to the main budget spreadsheet, goes back to federal programs reviews it with them. All of this is the communication and the collaboration between the principals, federal programs, and the finance department. By the time this comes back to finance, the schools have communicated with federal programs has reviewed and approved their budget, and then they will forward it to finance, and then we will upload it. We upload it, then they're given the information that will go into EGAP. Of course, right here is the EGAP budget overview. But how do they get to that budget overview, federal programs, based on the information that's all been uploaded to the various schools? Usually what I do, and I'm sure most districts do, after all of that information is uploaded, I provide the school or federal programs, the person that's entering the EGAP application, with a budget matrix. And of course, the matrix is generated from NextGen. And so we actually go a step further, and some districts may do that as well. We go a step further, and we actually give them a breakout of the budget matrix. So when they're looking at this, of course, they have instruction, the salaries for instructions, the benefits for instructions, and I'm just going to kind of focus on that first function, instruction, materials and supplies, and then they have other objects. But how do they get that information in EGAP? We realize that you guys have to go in and you've got to put in your budget narrative and all of that information. So we in finance take the matrix and we break it down a little bit further for federal programs. And so everything that makes up the number that they see in the summary, we provide them with a breakdown. And I will admit, the very first time I did this, I thought it was a bit much. But I had a mentor that was telling me this was the thing to do, so I did. But it eliminated a lot of the issues we were having when finance or when this goes to LEA accounting. and there are issues with the information where we had the issues where the EGAP budget overview did not match with what we had on the finance side. And so this really eliminated a lot of that. And so you can see that that first section, the salaries for instructions, is $1,043,872. And when you look, and this is really a big spreadsheet when I give it to them because this information is actually below the matrix. And I have it broken out below the matrix for every single function that is part of the matrix or your EGAP overview. And so with this information, you can actually go into your budget narrative and you can put the detail that we actually provide here. So you see instructional, we had instructional teachers that make up that $1,043,000, and we also put the FTEs on there as well. You have the instructional aides, and then you had some ESL teachers that may have been budgeted out of our district set aside. And so when they go to do the budget narrative, which I think is the next, let's see. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. Oh, sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction. When they go to do the budget narrative, they actually can take the information that's been provided in that summarization and use this information to start their budget narrative. Same thing, and so you'll see that the amount there is $1,043,872, which matches the summary. Go to the next column and we do the same thing for the benefits. They have a breakout of the benefits as well. Also in the budget narrative, we do the same thing for the instructional, which is object 400 to 499. We break that out so they can see, the purchase service is 300 to 399. So they can see that some of that is for student educational services, a portion of it is for leases, equipment maintenance agreement. And so this is the summarization of our entire district is what this is. And it helps them prepare the narrative that they need to enter into EGAP. Let's see. And we do that all the way through to the object 600 to 699. Again, you'll see, if I go back, you'll see a total for instructional supplies 400 to 499 of $3,830,000. And then if we go forward to the budget narrative, then you can see the description, and the description comes strictly from the breakout that we've provided to them. Now, in that narrative, because they're federal programs, they may have additional things that they put in there that they would know to include. I just know that the information has to tie to our finances at the end of the day when LEA Accounting goes to check our budget against the EGAP. Again, once they put all of that in, then that's what generates the budget overview. So the federal programs director, at least in our district, the ones that are doing the EGAP application, once all of that information is entered, then they get the budget overview, which should match exactly to the budget matrix that I've provided to them. In addition to, we just talked about how we do the budget. We do the same thing with the budget amendment, actually, and we just did a training for budget amendments probably about a month ago. And we do every year sit down with principals and their bookkeepers, and we sit and go through this presentation, not this one exactly, but we go through a presentation training and talk to them exactly about how to do this, provide them with any questions. Of course, we always instruct them to reach out to federal programs for programmatic questions, but they can also reach out to finance if they have questions that are finance related. The only difference between this spreadsheet and the first one is that with the amendment, they're provided the same information. There's the GL code that finance is usually looking for. There's a thorough description of what those codes mean so that they can see where they've budgeted and where they want to make adjustments. Then we provide them with the current year budget amount so they can see what they currently budgeted and they can see what they actually expended at the point in time that we do the training. and they're actually able to see, there's an amended budget column, and then they're actually able to see what's remaining on that line item. So the numbers in red mean that either they have exceeded the budgeted line item, how they've budgeted for the year, or maybe they expended funds on a line item that they did not budget. So during the amendment time, that's the time for them to go back, make changes to their ASIPs, make changes to this budget, and get rid of the negative amount or the red there by either increasing the budget line item or either adding a budget to a particular line item. The column there, everything still automatically calculates. If they want to reduce an amount, they can put in a negative to reduce a line item, or they can put an amount in to increase a line item as well. Also with this, at the end, when they're done, there should be nothing in red. If they have not made adjustments correctly, they're going to see a number in red at the top, and that tells them either you still have an amount remaining to budget, or you either exceeded your budgeted amount. So they know at all times when they're doing this where they are in the budget process and where they are as it relates to the allocation that they've been given. With this, also, we talk to them, and this is just extra. We actually talk to them, oh, and I'm sorry, this is our amended budget. After they make the changes, we also provide federal programs with another matrix, which is for the carryover amount. And we give them the same information that we would have provided them in the amended budget. So, in the original budget. So they get their original, and this time they actually also get a carryover matrix. And for Montgomery, we had some significant carryover, but we also break this down so that they know where the carryover amounts should go. So for example, in this year here, we had $1.2 million in materials and supplies, or the object code 400 to 499 in instruction, and they budgeted that amount all in audio-visual equipment. And so I put it there so that they know that when they go in to do the budget narrative, they actually know what the amount should be. There was also funds budgeted for educational media services, and I put a description there, the library media book program that they were doing at the time. So again, they're provided with the matrix also for the carryover, and then we give them the detail of the information so that they know where to go put that in their budget narrative. In addition to the budget spreadsheets that we do, we also give them a little training on some supplemental reports if they just want to go look at that. And one of them that's proven to be pretty helpful is a journal summary expenditure report. And basically still that shows their total budgeted amount, so they see what they budgeted. They can see their year-to-date actual, what they've expended. They can also see the encumbrances or their open purchase orders, and then they see the variances or the amounts remaining on each budgeted line item. And then in this instance, they're also able to see if they have requisitions that have not transferred over to purchase orders just yet. So we provide them instructions on how to pull these reports. Sometimes we have schools that come to us and say, well, I don't know what I spent on this line item. So we provide them instructions on a journal entry detail report. And I always refer to this when I'm talking to them as like the little checkbook. If you have a summary of your checkbook that says you spent $1,000 on groceries and you don't know what the $1,000 was, you can pull up a journal entry detail report, and it breaks down every amount that makes up the total for that line item. And in this one, you don't see much variation because it's all RICO, but I can see that I also had on here in-state travel, so I see the individuals that were paid. And if for some instance or for some reason someone got miscoded, and every now and then that may happen, then they're able to look at that and say, well, this shouldn't be in my cost center, and we can make the correction with that. Again, just as a summary of this was financial collaboration. It's kind of like what we like to think about it. And it just really stresses the importance of cross-departmental training and teamwork. And so the finance team tries to work hand in hand, not just with federal programs, but actually with all of our departments to make sure that they have an understanding of how what they do actually affects finance as well. And I do truly believe that that's important with federal programs. For Montgomery, federal programs is a huge allocation for us, and we just like to make sure that we maintain those relationships, that we have really good communication with our federal programs department, and that we collaborate and work as a team when we're planning our federal program dollars. And that's it. Any questions?
Questions, guys?
Again, you see how involved we are with the federal programs department, and the collaboration is continuous throughout the year. Sometimes if a principal or a bookkeeper, someone have a question, we invite them up to just come up and let's sit down and let's talk about the process, and let's talk about your expenditures. Sometimes principals need to make changes. Now, from the programmatic standpoint, we allow the principals first to work with the federal programs department on anything programmatic. We don't get involved in the programmatic part of that because principals and federal programs, they know about the needs for their particular school much more than we do. So we allow them to take care of the programmatic part, but we can always provide them any type of support as it relates to finance. And one of the things Ms. Watkins learned when she said that she thought it was a little too involved at first, and I said to her, I said, you'll learn that if you go ahead and provide this information at the beginning of the process, it'll save you so much time at the end. And we learned that, and of course, through that particular involvement, the process has gone so much smoother. And I really enjoy, what I used to enjoy, really working with federal programs in the various departments as a result of that. But it's always, guys, continuous collaboration. You have to collaborate. Any questions? Any questions? Well, thank you so much. I think we're going to provide this presentation.
Hang on, 2 questions. The spreadsheet that you guys had, if there's anybody interested in that template, is that something you can share?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, absolutely.
And then the second question, there are a couple of people that want to know if you can speak, Mr. Watts, to the July 1st date about the, you know it was going to come up. Can you just speak to that so everyone will hear it directly from you where we are with that?
Yes, as you know, the federal year is July 1st through June 30th. That is the federal year, the federal financial year, July 1st through June 30th. One of the things that we are strongly considering, and we probably will allow for the upcoming fiscal year, now not this July, but July of 2026, is for a district to be allowed to go back and record expenditures that would have occurred October 1st through September 30th, to be able to record those expenditures between July 1st and September 30th. There's some things we're still trying to figure out at the State Department, but this is indeed something that we're working on. The federal programs department, this is at the federal level. They've been asking us to do this for quite some time now, and so this is something that we're truly looking at. But we want to ensure that we have all of the systems in place to be able to do so. And that'll provide, of course, you guys an opportunity to go back and record expenditures that would have been recorded October 1st to July. And of course, and we'll see what happens with that, because that would mean that possibly you could have more carryover, possibly, but a district that is usually expending all of its funds during the fiscal year, then it will help those particular districts out quite a bit. So that's something that we're working on. We'll be speaking with you about that a little bit more as soon as we get a little bit more information, but we are working on that currently. Any questions? Well, thank you so much.